So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, hey everybody, we are here for Kent with Bent 93, the return of the Pink Tutu, because guess what time it is? Pink Tutu time.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, and first off, we have a super chat from Valkyrie Vision for $4.99 who says, Three kings lion-hearted, wine-throated, leg-fisted, and a quaint, just like AIG. I think that's supposed to be an AIG, or a bag of dicks joke. I'm not sure I get it, but we're going to take a drink for it anyway, because it's one of our drink
I never
triggers.
get anything.
All right.
It sounds painful, though.
Today I am drinking amber ale from Four Peaks in Washington. They're Kilt Lifter. This is not an ad. I am not endorsing them. In fact, I think it's the first time I've had that particular beer in, it might be a decade.
Do they endorse you?
I don't think so. I mean, they haven't said that they do. They also haven't, like, denounced.
Now's your chance, guys.
Yeah.
You can endorse Dapper if you want.
Four Peaks, if you're around, you can endorse or denounce me. I'll take either one. But anyway, yeah, guys, we are here with the tutu, which is around Ben's neck instead of his waist because, well, if it's around his waist, you can't really see it.
You can't see it, but
Yeah.
you can look at my Twitter and see it there.
Right.
Because there's a whole picture.
So, the deal is, because we got 128 super chats, last Kent with Bent,
200.
there's... No, 200 was for the feathers, I think.
No.
What was the other way around? Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't know what it is for the feathers, but 200
yeah, it was
is
120 for the
tutu.
feathers. The tutu was 200. There you go. Sorry, I got it backwards. Because we got that in a single night, Bent put on a tutu. So that's we don't talk about it a lot, but that's just one of those things. If we ever get there, we do those things. I'll put on some feathers. Bent will put on a tutu at those various levels.
We're already $5 down. It's only $195 to go.
That's true. Yeah.
To get another one next week.
$195 to go. Oh, and we also already have a drink. Put that on the counter. So, in case you guys don't know, you're new here. We're here to look at Kent Hovind, see why he's wrong, laugh about it a lot, and we have some drinking rules. And also, of course, to those of you who are observing it, today is Yom Kippur, so I'm going to say Happy Yom Kippur because it's like a penitential day, but like, I hope the day goes well for you on the most important religious holiday that you're going to experience in a year. So,
the most important? Wow.
Yeah, this is the most important of the Jewish holidays.
I did not know that.
Yep. Anyway, I guess technically we got like 2 minutes to go before it's Yom Kippur here, but whatever.
Well, who's counting, right?
Okay.
I'm not.
Let's see. So we'll go over the drinking rules for the Kent Hovind. We already went over one. If anyone super chats anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, we take a drink. Thing is, you got to be a little careful about it though, because YouTube likes to censor that exact phrase. Yeah, and have an easy fast. There you go.
Have an easy fast.
Let's see. In fact, I do think put that in my scheduled community post that's going to go up in like 10 minutes. Anyway, we also take a drink if Kent Hovind says something that's just... Oh, the reason for the AIG thing is they just like to copyright claim everything. So,
the reason is because they're a bag of dicks.
Well,
that's
the
reason.
Right, that's a big...
Why are they a bag of dicks? Well, one of the things is they like to copyright fair use. Also, while using fair use, which means they have no excuse.
Yeah.
Just don't be a bag of dicks.
We also take a drink whenever Kent Hovind says something so stupid we just kind of have to. Whenever he gets something factually correct without it just being a direct quote from someone, which that happens a lot. He just quotes someone, that doesn't count. We take a drink whenever he tells a joke that doesn't land. Whenever he tells a story that didn't happen, you know, like confusing his shower thoughts for reality or making up an argument that he never had. We also take a drink whenever he tells a joke that didn't land. And whenever he mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party or prominent members or leaders thereof or their various activities, especially during the 1930s and 40s.
Because there's a coin toss of whether or not he's going to do that in any given episode.
Yeah, and it will usually be apropos of nothing.
It's just out of the blue.
Like, so them Germans in 1942.
Oh, where did that come from?
Okay. And there is one more way that you can make us drink for super chats, which is Nathaniel Gray has just given us an example. Nathaniel Gray says, for $5, after 2.5 years, I finally caught the Rona. Ouch. Also, AIG are a pack of turtleneck snakes, which counts as a drink for the AIG or a bag of dicks. But also,
Yes, it does.
Nathaniel Gray includes the kaiju emoji, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, but then he puts in also Kent can get bent.
Which is my favorite part of it.
Yes, the Kent can get bent is amazing. But we also take a drink whenever anyone super chats those kaiju emojis.
Or if we hear
yes, finally,
Godzilla or a Mothra.
Godzilla and Mothra might come by audibly. Those are sort of random. So yeah, you can make us drink, but we can't do it for free. But now we're only $190 away from the next 2 days.
And 1 penny.
Well, and 1 penny. I'm going to round to the nearest dollar. All right, here we go. Oh, also, I'm sorry, I forgot. If you buy channel memberships as gifts for people, we take a drink per channel member that has been gifted.
Did you do predictions? I don't think you did.
Oh yeah, we do predictions. Yeah, if we're not sure what Kent's going to say, but one of us makes a prediction, we'll drink for the successful prediction.
Did you mention if Kent gets something right?
Yeah, I did mention that one.
Okay.
We get more generous with that one as time goes on. All right, here we go. By the way, Kent is talking about whether heaven or heavens should be used in various parts of the Bible for various reasons. I don't know why he thinks it's significant.
Here's a hint. He's wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
He's wrong that it matters, and he's wrong on what it actually says.
So last time, because this is a little bit of context for what he's talking about, he's complaining about whether it should be heavens or heaven in Genesis 1:1. Because the KJV has like heaven and everyone else has heavens. So on air, we checked the Masoretic text and the Septuagint, and then a bunch of English translations, and they all agree with the Masoretic text, which is standard for English translations, which is to say heavens. But then off air, I actually went and checked the Samaritan Pentateuch as well as the Peshitta. And the Peshitta is a translation of the Hebrew Old Testament into Aramaic, and the Samaritan Pentateuch is the Samaritans' version that is of similarly long tradition to the Masoretic text of the Torah. So all of those also say heavens, by the way. So the Peshitta, the Samaritan Pentateuch, all say heavens. Literally the only ancient manuscript or witness to the text that has heavens is the Septuagint. That's it. And if 3 out of 4 are going to disagree with the Septuagint, probably going to default to saying the Septuagint got it wrong there, guys. Anyway.
So almost every other reference refers to heavens. Let me do a word search real quick in a Bible program, and let's see how many times heaven appears versus how many times heavens appear.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that heavens is more often, mostly because the most ancient cosmologies, including like the round Earth cosmology of the ancient Greeks that was present around the time of like the writing of the books of the New Testament, still involved like multiple layers. So it was thought that like the moon was like closer than the sun, and then the sun was the next out body, and then the other planets were even farther out, and all of these were in like shells, different radii, undefined radii because they didn't have a good way to measure them, but still different radii. So in that, as well as in the ancient Near East cosmology, where you have a dome of the Earth, and then you might have multiple layers on top of that, which you can actually see in things like in the Hadith, where Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, is talking about going to visit various heavens. Like, this is an idea that's all over the place, is that there's layers to the sky, essentially. So yeah, it makes sense that heavens would be the more common thing to say.
Okay, HEAVN appears 551 times. Heavens appears 127 times.
Where? You
Thus
mean
the
in
heavens
Bible
and the earth.
Sure.
Is that what he means? Total appearances
in the whole
the
Bible.
King James?
Yeah, in the
What
King
does that have
James.
to do with whether or not the first mention of it is singular or plural? Oh, nothing. Got it.
Right. Yep.
Good question. Next question.
Were finished in Genesis chapter 2. But Genesis chapter 1 is heaven singular. Okay? So by the time he gets done with day 6, it's now heavens plural. That's the way it should be. Okay, who cares? Well,
Good question.
I care because you're lying about it, but other
Well.
than that, no one cares.
Yeah. This is just Kent for no reason, like diehard defending the KJV, even though the KJV got it wrong. Look, I've said this before, I'll reiterate it. For 1611, the KJV is a pretty darn good translation of the Bible. Since then, a lot more manuscript evidence has been done, a lot more textual criticism has been done, a lot more just archaeology has been done. It is no longer reasonable to say that it is the best available English translation. Which one is the best is going to depend on exactly what you're looking for. You know, if you're trying to do like a scholarly thing where you want as literal a translation as possible, there are certain editions. If you want a more free form for your own like reading enjoyment of the text, there are other options. This isn't a Bible review. But yeah, the KJV is just not as accurate as newer translations. Sorry, it just isn't. And Kent whining about it doesn't make it more accurate.
Maybe it's a minor point, but we'll bring that more up on that later in part 7, about 9 years from now when we get to that. So, heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. The Bible says the scoffers are willingly ignorant. They don't want to understand.
Does sound like Kent, doesn't
Understand. They like
The
being
projection
stupid
is strong.
about the creation and the flood. Coming up next. The creation of the heavens and the earth, right here in verse 5, is the first thing they're ignorant of. The second thing says, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. This is an obvious reference to Noah's flood. Now, an amazing number of Christians, to me it's an amazing number, believe there was a Lucifer's flood. You ever heard of that before?
I've never heard of that. No.
All right, well, we have to make a poll. Okay. Have you ever heard of the capitalized Lucifer. Lucifer's flood. I'm trying to ask it as close as possible to Kent's wording, so that's why it's going to be, have you ever heard of the Lucifer's flood? I haven't.
Way to stay accurate.
Yeah, well, look.
I accidentally almost clicked the wrong thing, on the book, but then I clicked it correctly.
All right. Now, to be fair, I don't know what proportion of my audience are or ever were believers by Kent's definition, so this might not be a fair poll.
Well, I was, but by his definition, I still am by a better definition.
Take that, Kent.
But, like...
I don't think I actually can vote. Anyway, here we go.
God created the world, and then Lucifer fell from heaven and destroyed it, and there was a Lucifer, and they say this is Lucifer's flood.
I don't remember
What does that have to do with the flood?
Yeah, I've heard of the idea. It comes up sometimes in like gap creationism, where there's the idea that there's a big gap between Genesis 1:1 and the first day starting in Genesis 1:2, and then usually the idea there is that like that gap is where most of the geological history and the faunal succession and whatnot that you see in Earth's past happens. And then after these millions of years or whatever, Lucifer falls, causing a destruction of that world, which is sometimes tied to various like geological extinctions or something. And then the Genesis 1:2 picks up with God recreating the world after that, which explains why it is that Lucifer, assuming that the snake in the garden is Lucifer, ends up being that, because he already fell prior to that. And so the other question then, people have asked is like, well, if the snake is Lucifer and Lucifer is a fallen angel, how did he manage to fall in the space of like a few days? What happened there? That's an explanation there. Look, I'm not here to endorse the gap theory. I'm just trying to explain like where this idea is coming from, but I don't remember it ever necessarily being a flood when Lucifer falls. So, yeah, I don't know.
Because there was no flood. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it certainly is the case that there was never a global flood, let alone two. That definitely didn't happen.
There's no mention anywhere in the Bible of Lucifer's flood. It didn't happen.
You know
That
what?
I agree with.
Kent is right. Yeah, we'll take a drink for Kent being right there. It's not in the Bible. It also didn't happen.
It's not even in the King James Version.
True. Maybe it's in those parts of the King James Version that aren't in his version, because, spoiler alerts, there's been multiple editions of the King James, and what was in the original isn't in his.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, hey, Kent, find me the Book of Judith. Go ahead, because it's in my King James.
Uh-oh.
It violates numerous scriptures, which we'll show you later. That's part of the gap theory, which is totally not true. Verse
So
7.
that means the gap theory
But
must
the
be true. Got it.
Heavens and the earth, which are now, talking in Peter's time, the heavens and the earth which we now see,
Well, you know what? There is a thing that has come up in my comments last time about 2 Peter 3:7 and whether or not it's a pseudo-epigraphical work or whether it's actually by Peter. And here's the thing. It's controversial. As near as I can tell, there isn't a solid consensus either by Christian or non-Christian scholars of the New Testament. So I'm not going to take a stance because I haven't looked into it enough. I understand that there are, in fact, stylistic differences between 1st and 2nd Peter. I don't have an opinion on it, but I just want to note, in case it comes up, that opinions are mixed, as far as I can tell, on both the non-Christian and Christian sides as to whether or not this is a pseudo-epigraphical work. But either way, it is, in fact, part of the 27 standard works in the Christian New Testament. So that's going to take it seriously either way.
Just a question. The books of Timothy, those were written by Timothy to Timothy, right?
No. Despite the fact that Kent seems to think that 1st and 2nd Timothy were written by Timothy.
And he wrote those letters to himself? Okay.
Yeah, they were written to Timothy. Now, were they written by Paul is a different question. And most scholars say probably not. But if Kent is a literalist, then he should at least know that according to 1st and 2nd Timothy, they're written by Paul to Timothy. But also, this is not a channel about, like, authorship of biblical texts, because I don't know enough about it to have strong opinions. I also don't always care all that much.
Because it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
By the same word, that's the word of God, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. There's a judgment coming. So the scoffers are willingly ignorant of the creation. They don't want to admit God created the world because that was...
Ben, do you agree or disagree with most of the things that Kent Hovind says about creation and biology and geology and cosmology?
Pretty much disagree with everything he ever says, always. So, like, if he says something that I agree with, I'm probably going to start changing my mind. That's how bad it is at this point.
Now, would he call you a scoffer?
Well, absolutely. Of course he would.
Okay. Do you deny that God created the world?
I don't worship Kent. Of course he'd call me a scoffer.
Right.
No, I think God created the world, but not in the same way that he does.
All right.
Like,
I'm going to take a
the
drink
Big Bang was a big part of that. So.
I'm going to take a drink for Kent just being wrong about whether or not people who disagree with him are just trying to deny that God created the world. Because, by the way, you're not my only theistic guest who's on here regularly.
What?
Yeah. Turns out this is a channel that has theist guests all the time.
Yeah. Maddie.
You.
Me and Maddie.
Sometimes Vishanti counts.
Sometimes Vishanti counts.
Would mean he
owns that time.
Yeah, basically.
Owns it. Which might mean, there are some rules. They don't want those rules. They don't want to admit there was a flood.
Look, divine command theory is right or wrong regardless of the flood. That's one of the things, right? If there's a God who set up moral rules that he cares about enforcing, even posthumously, then he does that regardless of the flood. And if there isn't, it's not evidence that there isn't such a God. Now look, we can get into the Euthyphro dilemma some other... Actually, no, we can't, because I'm not going to be sitting here talking about the Euthyphro dilemma. You can go read up on it on your own. Divine command theory for morality has problems, but they're not connected to whether or not there was a flood. I'm just going to take a drink for Kent not understanding the very basics of divine command theory.
Problem I have with the global flood is that it's just scientifically demonstrable that it could not have happened.
Yeah, definitely.
Not the way or time period that Kent claims it happened.
Yeah. Could there have been a major flood that is the genesis of this? Get it? Get what it is? Genesis of this story? Yes.
Sure.
Was it a global flood that wiped out literally all ground-dwelling animals that are, I guess, vertebrates? No. No, that's not an option that is available to us.
Evidence planted by Satan!
Oh, good point. I forgot that Satan can plant the evidence. Which then makes that Satan basically has godlike powers, which then I don't know how you would logically exclude the idea that maybe Satan put the Bible there to trick you into believing the Bible.
You can't know.
You can't, no.
So why not go off the evidence that proves that it didn't happen?
Yeah. Yeah, look, if there's
crazy.
If there's basically an omnipotent trickster, then you can't know anything. So the only real option for your epistemology is to assume that even if there's an omnipotent creature, it is generally speaking honest with how it arranges the universe, and therefore you can use the evidence of the universe.
If God were dishonest, then how could you ever know anything about
Yeah.
God or anything else?
Right. You wouldn't.
There's no.
Because that is proof positive. God has the authority to judge his creation. It's his world. He can wreck it anytime he feels like it.
I don't think you know what proof positive means, Kent.
I mean, if there had been a global flood, you would still have in order to show that that means that God can judge the world, you would still have to show that it was in fact God in particular who did it, and the God that you're talking about. Which both would have to actually work at, because, the Christian God isn't the only God that's said to have flooded the world. So, said to have flooded the world. There you go, grammar. Yeah. By the way, guys, hit like. I'm seeing that some 30-something people haven't hit like. Likes really do help.
Maybe they all hit dislike.
Well, that's okay too, I guess. I did ask them once to do that, and it is my most disliked video.
It did happen too, and then shortly after, YouTube stopped counting the dislikes. Coincidence?
Oh no, they still count them. You can actually download a plugin for most browsers that will allow you to see.
Yes, it's a coincidence.
It is also a coincidence, yes. All right, here we go.
And that flood is proof. And Satan doesn't want you looking at the rocks and minerals and thinking, wow, judgment of God.
I mean, I'm not going to speak for Satan, but
I don't think Satan would ever have that thought. That doesn't make any sense. Only Kent has ever thought that thought.
Look, I'm just going to take a drink for Kent seems to honestly, but sort of low key, believe the scientific establishment is possessed by demons, and you get possessed at your PhD review for your board for your dissertation. I
wonder if Kent thinks I must be an atheist because I'm wearing a pink tutu or something like that.
Probably.
His brain is majorly malfunctioning.
Actually, you know what? Speaking of academia and demon possession, Peter from Paleologos is here, man. Watch out, because if I understand it, you're going to college now. So, I mean, at least according to what I get from Kent, there are just demons lurking around every single corner in the library, just waiting to pounce on you and force you into believing in evolution, which will then, I guess, I don't know, turn you gay or something? It's not clear to me.
The only demons I've ever met work at the VA hospital and torture veterans. Abuse, torture.
He wants kids looking at the rocks and minerals thinking, wow, millions of years ago.
I mean, that they are very confidently assigned such ages based on as yet to be refuted or even run into question techniques. Yeah, that is what the kids are probably going to think. Although most kids are probably just going to think, it's a dumb rock, and go play Mario or something. I don't know what kids do.
Kids play Super Mario Brothers, I think. That's what they do.
I think now they play Fork Knife.
Fork. No, it's Fork Knife. Everyone keeps getting it wrong. Everyone's wrong but me.
Oh, Paleologos, your chem professor ranted about how dumb young Earth creationism and Ken Ham were. First day of class? I would expect that more from a geology or a biology.
And he's worked.
Geology or biology, but hey, chemistry.
I would expect the syllabus on the first day, and then the second day would be
ranting,
something like that. But yeah,
syllabus day is always such a waste.
Yeah,
I remember I saw a tweet from a college professor who had hid $50 in a locker, which the combination was at the end of the syllabus. Well, end of the semester, and my $50 is still here. No one read the syllabus.
I always read the syllabus. I read every stinking word of it because I was too. What do you call that?
Navy. You're too Navy.
OCD or whatever. I don't know. I had this compulsion to do it.
Really hard to spread this propaganda that the rocks and fossils we see are evidence of millions of years, when actually they're evidence of God's judgment. You can see these
you're getting that backwards.
You know what
you could say they're not evidence of God's judgment; they're evidence of millions of years, and that would be so much smarter to say.
And that's a citation needed moment. You need a citation for that. Of course, the entire series of this has been him attempting to support that claim, mostly by lying.
Fossilized here and say, man, they died because of Adam and Eve's sin. That's why they died.
Like the rocks.
They're also ignorant of the coming judgment. I like that bumper sticker
I'm
that said,
sorry,
Jesus
I
is
just
coming,
prefer
and
the
boy,
word
is he
judgment
mad.
with only one meaning.
Oh, that's your spelling preference?
Yeah, it's the worst part of the Shawshank Redemption. They put too many E's in judgment.
All right.
Well, sadly, most Christians are also ignorant of those same three things. They don't understand the creation, they don't understand that flood, and they don't understand God's coming soon to
Everyone's
judge
wrong
them.
but me, okay?
Yeah, so does that make them scoffers is what I want to know. Because the thing is, like, most young earth creationists, if pressed, will say, well, believing in young earth creationism isn't like the litmus test for salvation or being a Christian or anything like that, right? Okay.
Because it's something to do with like Jesus dying for our sins.
Something
is
like
more
that. I think that's
important
like the
than
main.
whether or not the flood happened or how old the universe is.
But the thing is, like, okay, if it's not, then why are you using verses like this to say that, oh, only scoffers are going to be the evolutionists?
Has Kant ever even defined scoffer?
It's basically just people who disagree with him, as far as I can tell.
That's what it seems like, but I don't know if he's ever said that.
I don't think
he
he
wouldn't
has,
phrase it
no.
like that, but he would phrase it. I don't know how he would phrase it, is my point.
I wonder how he would phrase the definition of a dinosaur.
Well, I don't know. Interesting question. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right.
I'm merely a doctor in dinosaurs. Whatever that means.
Oh, Paleologos' chem professor is a bit of a jerk. Sorry about that. Yeah, look, jerk professors are a thing. And look, if he starts, like, actually going after, like, people for their religious beliefs, please do report that. That's not okay.
Yeah.
So,
most professors, I've never met a professor who did. They didn't care
Yeah, same.
about
But
our religious beliefs.
that doesn't mean it won't happen, and it can't happen.
Right.
It certainly can. And if it does, please report it. And hey, even let us know. I'll call that out. That's nonsense. That's not acceptable.
I don't want to be ignorant of those things. I want to understand as much as possible. Now, some things cannot be
Why does he
known
lie?
about,
I don't know.
some of these events. But on this session, we're going to talk about the creation, and then later when we get
Dude, you're almost through with this session. What are you using the future tense for? We got 27 minutes left of this hour and 20-minute video. Now that we're done with the intro.
to seminar part 6, we'll spend a lot of time talking
Listen,
about the flood.
If the intro's done, maybe he'll actually state some evidence or cite some evidence.
That would be amazing.
That would be the epitome of my wishful thinking. Ain't gonna
What would a
happen.
No.
worldwide flood do to the world?
Okay, that's a good question. What would a worldwide flood do to the world? Well, so first, it's going to depend at least a little bit on where the water's coming from, right? So is it basically like, is it super salty or not? So if it's about as salty as the ocean, that can probably let some of the ocean life survive, at least for a while. Like algae will probably persist. A lot of the like zooplankton will probably do okay. Maybe whales could make it, who are filter feeding whales. Maybe even some of the toothed whales, or some of the sharks, maybe. So some marine ecosystems are going to be okay-ish, like deep water, near surface ecosystems are probably going to be okay-ish. The land's going to be completely salted, so even if there's an ark, it's all those animals are going to go extinct, including the humans, because there won't be anything for them to eat. Also, if we then assume that all of the radioactive decay that AIG and ICR and most of the other young Earthers need to fit into the year or so of the ark, or even the 6,000 year of life of Earth, all just kind of happen then? I mean, there won't be any water. There will just be a ball of plasma because Earth's crust will have vaporized many times over if you release all that heat at once. And even if it didn't, the just internal body radiation, because you have radioactive elements in your body, those would decay so rapidly that you would just burst like a grenade, a blood grenade. Your body would, the internals of your body would, the water in there would flash the steam, and you would just pop. So there's that. That would be a result. But if we ignore that, if we just pretend there is no heat problem, there isn't another heat problem from all the continents racing around underneath the waves like most flood geologists have it, although not Kent, to be fair. It would also mean that basically there would just be huge numbers of dead things all over the place. Now, a lot of them probably would end up as fossils, but interestingly, they would end up in a worldwide turbidite deposit that could be correlated horizontally, which means, across geography, across essentially the entire world where it hasn't already been cut through by erosion. So you'd be able to find a single, very thick, worldwide in extent, turbidite layer right there and say, that's the flood. You wouldn't have people arguing as to whether the flood ends at the end of the Cretaceous or around the time of the Holocene, or whether this wouldn't be a discussion. It would be so blindingly obvious that there would be no need to have a discussion, and there would be no room for disagreement about where it was. That's what you would expect. Now let's see what Kent Hovind says we would expect, because I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction that he's going to say something that is not what we would expect from a global.
If he even answers
What would the
question.
evidence be
if
there was a worldwide flood? I like that song they sing on, Buddy Davis sings, you know. If there was a worldwide flood, what would the evidence be?
Is that a real song?
Okay, I thought I was bad at writing lyrics.
Can anyone confirm if that's a real song? Because that sounds terrible, and like I might want to listen to it.
Billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth.
Thanks, Ken Ham.
And what do we find? Billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. That's exactly.
Well, he did give an answer.
That is an answer. But
it made my brain break. But
here's the thing. It's actually... We're going to take a drink because it's very stupid. We're going to go into that, right? Okay, first. The fossil record is not characterized by fossils all in aqueous deposition, right? There are things like Aeolian sandstone. There are things like subaerial ash deposits. These are things that exist. But also, as Dr. Joel Duff has pointed out in one of his favorite videos of mine, and Dr. Joel Duff is, of course, in the chat. Hi, Dr. Duff. There are actually too many fossils. There are specifically already too many just cephalopod fossils to have fit on Earth in the space of a year. Unless you just want to be walking across an ocean that's just literally carpeted in cephalopods. Paleologos has confirmed that is in fact a Buddy Davis song. I now have to hear it.
I don't have to hear it.
Paleologos, if you can send that to me, like just DM it to me on Twitter or something, because I'm gonna have to listen to it. But yeah, so there are not billions of dead things. There are like quadrillions of dead things, far more than could ever have lived on Earth if young Earth creationism. It's not a very handy thing.
Yeah, but Ken Ham said something else.
That's true, he did. Ken Ham is a liar.
What?
Exactly what the evidence would be.
And a werewolf.
Yeah.
So,
look, Ken Ham is allegedly a werewolf. I'm not saying he's a werewolf. I'm just saying, if anyone were a werewolf, Ken Ham would be, like, high on the list. I think he would be like a Glasswalker werewolf if we're following, like, World of Darkness. Old World of Darkness, I guess. I don't know enough about New World of Darkness. But also, Dean Wing just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you very much. Looks like we got Ace Light,
Pretty awesome.
Jared Tilford, Keisler, Misty. We're all gifted memberships.
And Tesla Ranger.
Oh, and Tesla Ranger?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, look at that. I missed it because Tapioca Weasel interrupted the sequence. That's okay. So, guys, send all of them some tetrapods. We're going to take 5 drinks.
5 drinks. That's 5. I counted.
There we go. And it also means that we are now $165 away from the next tutu. And
make it happen. Make it happen.
Thank you very much, DM Wing. I really appreciate it. And I hope that the new members also appreciate it. Guys, that is a not automatically reoccurring thing. So at the end of the month, your subscription will just automatically go away. And then if you like being a member, you can always, of course, join yourself. You now have access, if you link your Discord account to your YouTube account, you guys have access to my private Discord server.
Nice.
Look at my members-only videos, or not video, well, there is 1 or 2 videos that are members-only, but my members-only community posts, which will give you early access to a whole bunch of videos. So enjoy
And
that.
speaking of your private Discord, I believe we are going to be watching something in that after the show.
Yes, we
with
almost every
whoever
Tuesday.
wants to be there.
Almost every Tuesday, we have an after show where we watch TV shows or movies, and today we're going to be doing some spooky movies because it's October. That's spooky month.
Yes.
So
Be afraid.
yes. All right, here we go. And I'm actually going to have to put a new beer in here soon. It's a good thing I brought one.
I'm not sure we'll find a movie scarier than Kent Hovind talking, but who knows?
That'll be like the less scary, calm down, spooky.
Some Christians are ignorant of the creation and the flood,
It really will.
and it's caused them to compromise the Bible.
Oh my goodness, Tapioca Weevil just gifted another 5.
What?
All right, here we go. I'm gonna run out of
That's
beer.
awesome. I'm only doing one drink for each, but Steve Arenos, Skolator, 9001 Space Dragon, Jacob Maston, and Sah B. Welcome.
Welcome
to the
indeed.
channel.
My goodness, at this point, everyone's gonna have a green name,
Yes.
which I am
everybody.
okay with. Guys, I'm cracking up this cracking open. I can't talk today. Cracking open this next beer. I'm gonna do a nice little pour here. Technically, the last beer didn't entirely go away, but there's like one sip left, and I'm not gonna sit here and stand on ceremony. All right, that was a slightly sloppier pour.
So you can't choose who the gift subs go to. So you just have to keep gifting subs until Peter gets one.
Yeah. Peter, Horseflesh.
It's just
The only 2 I've seen who are left.
it's the way it goes. I mean,
Yeah.
Thank you, YouTube, for enabling gift subs. So that is pretty great.
Yeah, I did appreciate that. I think I've already had more gift subs than I ever got from Super Thanks, which is sort of a weird thing because, like, hey, you can pay money to make your YouTube comment more colorful. It's like I appreciate it when people do it, but like I understand why virtually no one does. All right, here we go.
Bible. And that's what I want to talk about in this session. Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." Verse 5.
Close.
Bester Freya says green is not a good color for me. Well, first, I feel like it might be. It might be. Second, it's only for your name in YouTube, so you know.
Yeah, it doesn't change your name in Discord.
That's true.
It just adds it to it.
And guys, by the way, again, just use your Discord account and connect it to your current YouTube account that you're using to watch this if you got the gift sub, and it will automatically add you to my Discord server.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were
Is there a reason
The
Kate put verse 1
first
in
day.
here again? For no reason?
I don't know. Yeah, it's just Genesis 1, verse 1 and verse 5. That's weird.
Very weird.
Whatever.
King James Bible uses the word "thee." Now, it took me a long time. Okay, I was
Oh my
dragged
goodness.
slowly, kicking and screaming, into the King James camp.
All right, so we're gonna have to check again.
Everywhere.
So the first day. So this is Genesis 1:5 MT. No, I specifically put MT. So give you the Masoretic text to Google. Google is bad about this. Just type in Hebrew.
Who
All right.
doesn't know?
No, it doesn't. Okay, so what does it say? Okay. So it just says Yom Echad, day 1. Day 1. It doesn't actually even say that. It doesn't say Hayom Echad. It just says Yom Echad.
Never would have guessed.
All right, let's see. As is tradition, we checked the Septuagint just to see if maybe the KJV is going with the Septuagint on this, right? Genesis 1:5. For those of you who aren't in the know, the short version of Septuagint is LXX. That's how you contract it. Okay, Genesis 1:5. It also doesn't say the first day. First day. Okay, so neither of them use the definite article. I don't know why Kent is making a big deal. Now, look, in English, it makes more sense to say the first day than it does to say like day 1 or just first day without a definite article. But like, why Kent is insisting
Because
like-
it made more sense to the King James writer,
Yeah.
translator, whatever you want to call it, to add that word.
Oh, Theros Rex for $5 says, "How are you tonight, my good nerds? Also, what would be a better channel mascot? A Dinosuchus or a Deinonychus in a lab coat? Both are German. Oh, both are also German. So okay, look. Personally, I like Dinosuchus more than I like Deinonychus in terms of just like a cool animal. But I think a Dinosuchus is going to have more trouble wearing a lab coat than a Deinonychus. So I'm going to go with Deinonychus, unless you're not going to use feathers on the Deinonychus, in which case, go Dinosuchus. That's my take there. And
I
many
don't
Karen,
have a take on that, but hello, thank you for calling me a good nerd. I
yes.
feel
By the way, many
very
Karen,
good and nerdy.
Many Karen, who is in fact a native Hebrew speaker from Israel, has confirmed that yes, it is Yom Echad. Like I said, I mean, I did look it up. I actually did pull up the Hebrew text. I could have reached behind me to grab my copy of the Tanakh in Hebrew, which I always carry, keeping within arm's reach if I'm at this desk. It's one of
It's true.
books are always within arm's reach. The Tanakh, Gardner's Middle Egyptian Grammar, Apostolic Fathers' original text, and English translation on D books. I basically cover. Those are the must be at my desk books. Also, 2 different GM screens. Never know when a GM screen might come in handy. All right, here we go.
Okay, I was certainly not raised that way, and I don't fight Christians that aren't there yet. I tell them, hey, keep reading the Bible, keep studying. When you get to the top of the mountain of truth, you'll be an independent Baptist in the King James camp. Okay.
I
That's
just
how
want
you
to punch him so bad.
Right? Oh, Robert Maywell, who's been a member for 18 months at the Amniote level. Thank you very much, Robert Maywell. AIG Unshoved Hicks. Yes, they are. Shoved.
Good enough for me.
Yeah, you know what? It's good enough for me. All right, here we go.
Oh, you made it all the way to the top. But if you're not there yet, you can still be my friend. I'll still take you to lunch. Come on over. I'll give you a tour.
No,
I don't want to be
no.
your friend. I don't want to befriend abuser liars.
Yeah.
Abusive liars.
I don't want to be a friend who. Yeah. So let's see. Liar. Yep. There's a reason I don't want to be your friend, Kent. You're also an admitted child abuser, so I don't want to be your friend for that. And you're a convicted spouse abuser. I don't want to be your friend for that. Oh, also, currently one of your friends is in legal trouble because you let him, an unrelated underage child, sleep alone in a single bed together, and that friend of yours is a convicted felon of the kind that shouldn't be left with children. So what do you think?
That conviction was before this event happened.
Oh yeah. So you want to guess what he's currently in trouble for? I'm trying to skirt around YouTube, like putting the hammer down on any money I might earn in the future.
Guessing it's not anything new for this
No.
person.
No, it's not.
More of the same.
Completely in line.
Wow, I guess I got that prediction right.
Yeah. Take a drink for that. Yeah. So Ken, for so many reasons, I don't want to be your.
Yeah, you're a scoffer too, Kent.
But it was the first day. Many New Bible versions have made serious changes besides just some of the words. They left out stuff, like they left out the blood.
Okay, hold on. He's going to say in. I want to know what.
In many cases.
Which
NIV, 1 Corinthians or Colossians 1, in whom we have redemption. King James says, whom we have redemption through his blood.
Okay.
Guys, it says washed from our sins, it says freed us from our sins, not washed us from our sins. Therefore, the devil wrote it.
Look, you know what? I'm not going to get into all of these.
What is this nonsense?
I don't know.
You know what? If you guys want more information, there's a phone number that you can call on the slide that Kent left.
I kind of want to call it, honestly.
I won't stop you.
Actually, I need to double. I want to double check, but I think because I looked at my first glance. Indicated that both Alabama and Arizona are single-party consent states for recording audio, which means I think I can legally call Kent Hovind and not tell him it's being recorded and record it anyway, and then still actually post. There are a few things that I would love to ask him while just, like maybe using my first name rather than like Dapper Diamond.
Yeah, but that would require you having to talk to him again, and that's something that is, I guess that's your decision.
I don't really, so like I want to get answers from him, I also don't really talk to him. And of course DM Wing says, get bent petak, which yes, that is the correct thing to say to Kent.
I do like that.
You know what's nice about the petak emoji? You can use it for
it's
singular.
It's awesome looking.
Well, that, and also you can use it singular or plural, because you don't have to mark verbs as plural in Klingon if you do refer to more than one thing. So
the only thing I don't like about it is that I can't post it without it being like in a negative context.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's an insult. Well, it is what it is.
It is.
Now, why did they leave out the blood?
Sometimes
well, they don't want to offend
nice
anybody.
Why did they leave out the blood? Okay, look. Basically, every single time there has been a change that's more significant than like this one here in like Matthew 27:4, where it's like the. So some of those are just like stylistic things, like with that, right? But basically, every other time that there's been a change between like the KJV and one of the newer Bible translations, it's because we have more more manuscripts, a better idea what the most likely original reading is, and then the text goes with the most likely original reading. That's it. It's literally because it's more likely to be correct in the newer versions.
There's plenty of Bible verses in the NASB and NIV that mention the blood of Jesus. Plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Just not
absolutely.
the ones that are, maybe not the ones that are listed here, but I mean, there's a bunch of results on this. There's only 9 and then 11.
Yeah.
But like, if you're going to just pick and choose random verses that are now more accurately translated to try to prove a point that they shouldn't have been more accurately translated, F off, A-wipe.
Yeah. Also, I think we're now more than halfway to another feathery video for my next animated video. Which actually can't be the next one that I animate, because I've already promised Space Dragon that I'm going to change my avatar a bit for him in honor of him being the one who supplied me with the video I'm responding to. So I went out and I bought a $4.50 dragon model that was already rigged. I'm going to use that. And I'm actually, over the weekend, I actually made another dragon model, and it's almost rigged. So that also might see some use.
They want to sell more Bibles. It goes back to money.
The NASB was invented by Big Bible to sell more Bibles. Got it, Kent. I'm just taking a drink if they want to sell more Bibles.
Wouldn't that be a good thing? Don't you want more Bibles around the world,
Right?
Kent?
You would think. And of course, Kent is on record as saying, like, you can read other versions of the Bible and get saved. So I don't see what your downside is. Well, barely. He actually doesn't say that. Yeah.
No, he doesn't say barely. I don't know what he says about that. I have no reason to doubt you.
Oh, and D-Wing says, cool, $5 dragon. It actually is fairly cool, although I did do some touch-up on like materials and whatnot to make it a little less video gamey and a little bit more fitting in with my sort of like semi-photorealism kind of look. Anyway.
Okay, every time it goes back to money. Okay. Some have left out whole verses. We cover much more on why King James on video number 7. And again, if you're not King James, it's perfectly fine. You do whatever you want to do. But I think if you really study the issue honestly, you'll have to say there are real serious problems. We cover that on video 7.
Oh, here's a fun fact.
With you,
I don't think it's any secret that I grew up young Earth creationist. Well,
what?
My dad actually got kicked out of a church because he refused to say that the King James Version is the only version that should be read for speaking churches. He was like, no, I don't see any problem with the other versions. And they were like, all right, you're out. They kicked out a bunch of other people too. And then those people were like, all right, fine. We're going to make our own church with other versions and blackjack. No blackjack, actually. But yeah, it was just like... Yeah, that was my introduction to, like, hey, sometimes people at church can be giant jerks. Early on, I was young. Anyway.
When I was 10 years old, I believe, my family started going to the United Methodist Church in Morton, Illinois.
That's not.
And it just happened at that time.
It's not KJV only, is it?
Yeah, it's not KJV only, I don't think. Also, it's probably not Baptist, and Kent is a Baptist. Baptists are the only way to go.
Baptists are the only Christians.
I actually don't know what Kent's deal is with, like, because there's various versions of Baptist as terms of, like, how identical Invisible Church is to the Baptist Church, and where Baptists come from, and, like, there's some really out there crazy conspiracy stuff going on with Baptists in some cases, but then there are other Baptists who are like, nah, that's crazy. Because, yeah, it is. But, and my goodness, Steve Areno just gifted 5 memberships. And Science Simp gave a $10 super chat that says AIG is a bag of dicks backwards. Drink up, my friends. So we're going to have 6 drinks in here. Here we go. First 5. Okay, and then for Science Simp is Science Simp's chat. And of course we've got Dr. Legendre, Cool Jesus, Pavel, I'm going to go with Kuzachowski, because I hope that's roughly right, because I don't speak any Polish. James Leeson, and Farron Salas, welcome to being channel members. Welcome to the program, guys. All right, here we go.
An extremely liberal pastor who did not believe in heaven or hell and did not believe the Bible is the Word of God, and, you know, nice guy, very sociable guy, just didn't believe the Bible, you know. I don't know what they have for a pastor now. I haven't been there in many years, 30 years, 35 years. But for perfect attendance in the 4th grade.
We're $20 away from another feather video.
How far away are we from another Pink Tutu?
80. Wait, no.
Make it happen.
100, sorry, 100 away.
That's nothing.
Yeah, Fade to Gray says it's a lot of drinks back to back. Yeah, well, they're not shots. Trust me.
Listen, I'm only drinking the one for each gift of 5 because that's all I'm doing. I made that decision and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
At the Methodist Church, I was given a Revised Standard Version of the Bible, RSV.
Yeah,
I still have it on my shelf.
Stands for Satan, I bet.
Well, actually, Kent gets all this stuff from Gail Riplinger, who in her book New Age Bible Translations actually got the name of at least one translation wrong. And when called out on it, her response was, well, that's what God calls it in heaven. Which is just amazing. I love that.
God calls it in my imagination, guys.
Yeah, that's the real answer.
Wait a minute. Is that a woman? Is Kent trying to take knowledge or advice or whatever from a woman? Doesn't he think that's against the Bible?
I don't know, because Kent clearly does have some pretty sexist attitudes, but on the other hand, he does interview women as, like, authorities or witnesses to things, and he does, in fact, apparently he's actually personal friends with Gail Riplinger, and he believes her about the Bible thing, so, like, I don't know, it's a complicated thing with Kent and women. Yeah.
He's weird.
Oh, I might have missed a super chat. Hold on a second. I'm not seeing a 99-cent super chat. Oh no, Science Sim super chat. Yeah, I did read that one. It was AIG backwards. Drink up, my friends. I did read that one. Sorry. Yep, I did. And if I didn't, I'll put it out there again. It's just AIG is a bag of dicks backwards, and then it says read backwards. Drink up, my friends. So yes, thank you very much, Science Simp. I do believe I did read it.
That's what God.
In the RSV, it says, God called the light, this is Genesis 1:5, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning, one day.
So that is, I would say, closer to the actual Hebrew Yom Echad. So I actually do like the RSV more than KJV's the first day.
I didn't even realize he was reading you the RSV. I was like, that actually doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Here we go again.
Tapioca Weasel I'm now obligated to make another feathery dapper. So I will make another feather dapper video, and we're gonna drink a bunch more.
That's a lot of gift subs. You guys are the best.
Okay, so we got let's see, Sandino Flores, Dark Half 75, Michael Murphy, Telku I'm not sure. I'm just going to go with Topsa and Dagger the Dragon. Welcome, everybody. My goodness, is that 20 gift subs today?
I can't count.
I'm pretty sure it's 20. Yeah, it is. That does in fact put us
Doctor
75 away from another Tutu stream, and I'm already obligated to do more feathers. All right, we're gonna hit play, and then pretty soon we're gonna go take a break, so I can maybe have a gulp of water, and then
I'm sorry.
get more beer.
Paleologus said, "I bet your dissertation didn't begin with hello. My name is Tapioca." Did you know that I play Dungeons and Dragons? That's been forever since we did Guns, Magic, and Steel. But I play a character named Milo Tea Leaf, and his entire backstory is ripped off from the first page of Ken Hogan's thesis.
It's amazing.
I even found the most similar font I could write it. Oh my god!
And thank you for sending the tetrapods, because that is how we greet new members. All right, and like I said, guys, connect your Discord account to your YouTube account from Discord, and you will automatically be added to my server. And we're gonna watch a spooky movie later on.
We're gonna have a lot of fun if everyone shows up.
That would be amazing. All right, here we go, guys.
Verse 8 says it was a second day. Verse 13 says it was a third day.
Uh-oh.
Is there a difference between one day and the first day?
I mean, yeah, one of them is closer to what it says in the Hebrew. There's also a difference, right? One day just means that there has been a day. One day has happened. The first day specifically says that this is the first one that has occurred. Now, how significant is that difference in terms of theology? I'm not here to say. But also, Vandalic 1998 for $2 says, so are all 84 people now watching members? I don't know. Apparently not, though, because Dr. Joel Duff is not.
Paleologos wasn't.
I don't think Paleologos managed to make it in either. Yeah, he hasn't made the cut yet of the randomness. And then Royland Hutchins, or Hutchins? I'm going to go with Hutchins for now. So for $2, sent a Godzilla and a Mothra emoji, so we're going to take a drink for that. Liz
Yes,
D
the
says,
green names are members, yes.
Liz D says, is the spooky movie going to be Kent Takes a Bath? God, no, that's way too spooky for me.
Do you want me to vomit on stream?
Right. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back after I go grab some beer and maybe take care of some biology. All right. All right, and we are back. Thank you for sticking with us, those of you who did, which actually looks like pretty much everyone. While I was, right as I went away, Erhamian sent a $20 super chat. Thank you very much, but there was no message, which, one, puts us only $51 away from the next Feather video. And also, it means that I'm going to take it as an opportunity to talk real quick about Yom, Hebrew word for day, and it's cognate in Arabic, Yaum, means the exact same thing. How much it bugs me when young earth creationists say Yom, not Yom. I know that often in English transliterations, you get Y-O-M.
My bad.
It's Yom. So in Hebrew, there's a Yod, a Vav, that's Yo, right? And then there's the Meme after, or the Mem, you know. Look, sometimes I just use the Arabic name for the same letter in Hebrew because I'm so much more used to the Arabic alphabet. But they're both spelled basically the same way. There's the Yod, or Ya in Arabic. And then in Arabic, there's a Waw, and there's a Vav in Hebrew, which are the two related letters, both of which are carrying information about how the vowel is pronounced. Then there's the Mem or the Meme. Stop saying Yom. It's not right, and it makes me want to scratch my ears out.
I'm sorry. I think I've always said Yom. All 4 times I've said it.
Right, how often does it come up? Anyway, now that I've gotten that out off my chest, it confuses me a little bit how much creationists will talk about Genesis and how little Hebrew. Because I don't know that much Hebrew, but I still know more than virtually every young earth creationist I've ever heard of. Which shouldn't be the case. Anyway.
Listen, I remember thinking when I was younger, I wish I knew the Hebrew or the Greek, but I can't even stinking learn Spanish. And I went to a 4th grade. My school would only speak Spanish like every other day. I didn't learn a single word. Yeah. Except for Benjamin, which was my name in Spanish.
By the way, Manny Karen right there in the chat is trying to correct me on mem versus meme after I explained it. Why sometimes I just accidentally use the Arabic version, and then I also said it should be mem because of Hebrew. Nope. Hey Karen, you got to wait until after I get a chance to tell you like the corrections. That's fine though.
Almost all the new versions, and you can check it out: NASB, New Living Translation, Amplified Bible, RSV, ASV.
We have a $5 super chat from Kelleratellian who says, "First Godzilla, so we take a drink." Grading 6th grade science work. There you go. And it's all better than anything Kent has ever done. Kent get bent with emojis. Yeah. I love that we can say Kent get bent all in emojis.
It is my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I mean, I know I have reasons to like the get bent emoji.
Or bent.
Because I'm bent, but I still love it.
It is really good, and I like that it's actually legible. Awesome. I was worried about that, but then I was like, no, I did citation needed, and that worked. So get bent has to work.
Get bent is just a great phrase anyway.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Almost all of them have changed it to say one day. Why would they do that?
Because they want to be accurate.
Right, yeah, it's because it's literally more like Yom Echad.
Because they don't have an agenda, that's why.
Exactly.
Like science doesn't have an agenda, it just wants to be accurate, my goodness.
Notice that his question is never, why does the KJV say this? That's never his question. He never says, I wonder why the KJV translators said the first day. It's always, why does anyone ever disagree with the KJV? I don't think Ken has any idea that the KJV is actually the result of a conscious effort to translate texts, and that there were decisions made. Oh my goodness.
Ken's religion is the KJV.
Dr. Tapioca Weasel, who I suspect might not be an actual doctor, by the way,
Mr. Moneybags,
has sent another 5 memberships. So Sarah L. Jones, Pseudodidact, Timothy's Witan, Clairview, and Evan Roderick are all now members. You guys are going to like double my membership rolls today. Let's take some drinks. Oh, guys, now I have to open up another beer. But that does mean that we are now, let's see, that's $21 away from more feathers. Goodness, you guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'm currently pouring some more beer and filling the dead air by just rambling about what I'm doing. Because you know what really sucks is dead air. I get
Dead
so
air
close.
is bad.
It really is. Look, if a stream goes dead for like 5 seconds, I check it. And if
Must have
nothing's happening,
crashed.
I'm like, yeah, there's a fair chance I'm out of there. So, no dead air. No dead air. It's not okay. Anyway, here we go.
That's one reason why most people do most things. Money. They want to sell more books.
They
That
want to
really
sell
is.
more Bibles is the stupidest take.
Well, I think he said books, but wanting to do things for money is exactly what Kent does. He takes advantage of so many people and gets a lot of money for it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna start getting mad about it if I keep talking.
Oh, okay. We'll
Kent
keep going
makes
then.
me mad.
That's fair.
They don't want to offend people who believe the earth is billions of years old. And the first day is really definite. And that bothers them.
I mean, take it out with the authors of the Genesis, right? I was going to say Torah, the Pentateuch, I don't know. Take it up with the authors of Genesis. Or at least take it up with the scribes who copied it all the way down to the Masoretic text, which I think currently goes back to like... I think it's like the 1200s. Or you could take it up with the translators of the Peshitta. Or you could take it up with the Samaritans. I mean, they all agree. I guess you could just high-five the 70 Jewish scholars who allegedly translated the Septuagint. They're literally the only ones who agree with you. I guess if they're in heaven, Kent, you can give them a big hug and say, thank you for finally getting it right after all the people who speak Aramaic and Hebrew got it wrong.
I don't think Kent's going to heaven.
Well, he does. He does.
Even if it's real, he's not going to be there. I doubt that. What do I know? I don't want to judge people's souls.
Look, if there's heaven, I am not going to be the one who's in charge of who goes there. Which is probably a good thing.
We don't have the authority to change God's Word. We have the authority to preach God's Word. We have the authority to print God's Word and give copies to other people. We have the authority to teach about it, but we don't have the authority to change it.
How do you know that it wasn't the KJV that changed it? You haven't actually described that. Also, I want to notice that this is the longest I think we've ever had a Kent without Kent ever actually making a scientific claim. It's all just been Bible crap. And I shouldn't say crap, because look, I'm interested in the textual history of the Bible and correct translations. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm at least mildly interested in Hebrew and Greek. So
I think what Kent is saying about it can be called crap.
Oh yeah, what Kent is saying.
I will agree with that.
Yeah. Look, I'm fascinated by a lot of stuff in and around biblical texts, right? I think that's pretty obvious. But yeah, this is crap from.
I think it's a serious thing if you're going to change God's Word. Anyway.
Yeah, it would be, but that's not what anyone's doing, Kent. This is literally what no one involved here is doing. All of them are engaged, as near as I can tell, and as near as all scholars can tell, in a good faith effort to produce the best English translation they can based on the current manuscript evidence and the goals of the translation, because different translations do have different goals. Like, there's a phrase-for-phrase literal translation, that's an option. You also have things where you go like sentence by sentence, thought by thought, how literal versus how natural sounding in the target language do you make it. All of these are choices that you have to make, and there's no obvious reason to say that one of them is the right choice. And that's why you get different translations, because different translation teams make different choices about their goal, and because there is still dispute as to what the actual reading is in all cases. I don't know. I mean, Kent is imputing all of these horrible motives onto people who, as far as I can tell, are literally just engaged in good faith efforts to produce the best Bible translation that meets their goals that they possibly can.
How dare they?
You know.
These folks who do most of these new versions believe in what's called the gap theory. How many?
That's just not even close to true. The gap theory is believed by almost no one at this point. Basically, most Christians at this point fall into theistic evolution as like their camp on origins, right? And then pretty much all the rest of them are young earth creationists. And then there's like a vanishingly small and dwindling number of old age creationists, whether they be day age or gap, or progressive creationists like Richard Owen. Like, yeah. Young Earth creationism and theistic evolution have mostly cornered the market. Your choices as a Christian are mostly biologos or answers in Genesis. To simplify things way too much, but still. Now, that's not to say that there aren't old Earth creationists, right? Like, Reasons to Believe does exist. I have people who watch this channel who are old Earth creationists. They are out there. But in terms of influence and raw numbers, young Earth creationism and theistic evolution are the games in town.
I've ever heard of the gap theory before.
Oh, okay. That's time for us to end my old poll, which, by the way, was 7% have heard. But now it says 6, whatever, you know. Have you heard of the Luciferian flood? 93% no. Yes, 6%. Okay, so next one is, have you... Oh, wait, no, I have to hit the poll button. Forget how to do polls, right? Have you heard of the gap theory? Yes, no. And this is before we started talking about it today, guys. Come on. We were already talking about it. So give it like, had you heard about it yesterday is really what I'm going for.
I had only been saved for a short time. I'm going to say probably a month. And I was riding the bus. I was a bus.
By the way,
A bus?
there's a lot of like versions of Christianity where the idea that you can put a date on the day that you were saved is a really weird idea. And I just love how much of an assumption that's just how it works it is, Kent. It's just weird to me as someone who's done a lot of like studying of various groups of various religions, how much Kent takes it for granted that his version of Christianity just is the default. It's a minor thing. It doesn't really matter.
Bus kid to Bethel Baptist Church in Pekin, Illinois.
Sorry?
How cocky of him.
Yeah.
And I was bringing my Methodist Bible, my reviled substandard perversion.
Oh my goodness, I'm taking a drink for a joke that didn't land right there. Wow.
So glad I didn't notice.
Of the Bible. And my pastor very wisely said, Brother Kent, you need to get a Bible. I said, I got a Bible. I've been reading it for an hour a day, man. I'm a brand new Christian. I'm on fire. You know, I'm loving it, soaking it up, you know, reading my Bible. He said, no, you need to get a Bible. I said, I got a Bible. He said, no, you need to get a Schofield Reference Edition. King James Bible. I said, okay. So reluctantly, I gave up my RSV and got a Schofield Reference Edition, which I still have in my library there. It's really ratty looking. If you pick it up, it falls apart.
Sounds like a terrible pastor you had.
Yeah.
I've worn out several Schofield Bibles. Well,
why would you damage a Bible, scoffer?
Well, I think his idea is supposed to be that through excessive use, or heavy use.
Right.
Excessive.
And this is a time where you couldn't just pull up the app and have it, which is a better way to do it.
Yeah. Well, the app is nice because I can rapidly switch editions. Like, I currently own several different copies of the Bibles in different translations, but I never really have a reason to check any of them. Here we go.
The thing you come to in the Schofield Bible is his footnote on Genesis 1:1. Anybody have a Schofield Bible and read the reference there? You know what I'm talking about. Schofield says there's a gap between verse 1 and verse 2. Here I was, brand new Christian, reading my Bible like mad, learning the Bible, studying, going to church, you know, singing the songs, and total change in my life. But I got a Schofield Bible. Probably set me back 15 years in my Christianity from that footnote in chapter 1, verse number 2. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. Verse 2 says, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And Schofield says there's a gap in here, maybe even billions of years. So then I had been saved for, let's see, a couple years, and I went off to college, Midwestern Baptist College.
College?
Good school. Dr. Malone just turned 90 a couple days ago. He was the pastor there, started the church years ago.
Okay, so Pastor Malone, we're going to talk about this a little bit, right? Because this gets into like the Kent Hovind biography parts that he doesn't talk about.
Easy.
Pastor Malone started his own unaccredited Christian school, which Kent transferred to from a real school without ever actually having got his degree in the first place. He then finished his degree work, in heavy quotations, at Pastor Malone's school. And essentially everything that you think of as a Kent Hovinism is actually something he got from Malone. Sometimes his quotes are close to word for word from Malone. Kent Hovind?
You'd be better off getting your quotes from Kevin Malone.
He has some good quotes.
I do the numbers. I'm totally gonna bang
what
hard.
about Kevin McAllister?
That's even better.
There you go. All right. Anyway,
I'm a criminal.
yeah, Pastor Malone is the origin for almost everything that Kent talks about. That's one of the reasons why he hasn't updated, because Kent Hovind is a profoundly stupid person in many ways. Right? He's a good grifter. But when it comes to actually thinking things through, coming up with his own ideas, processing what his mentors have taught him and coming up with like a synthesis of that or improving upon it, all of that is beyond Kent. Kent just wants to be like his idol, Malone, and to some extent maybe Morris or Gish or something. So he just parrots their talking points without any addition, any modification, or any updating.
Why update what is perfect?
Well, that's what he says. I mean, that's literally his talking point. I don't have to change because I'm still right. Yeah, that's definitely how science works.
Well, pastored the same church for like 60 years. It's a long time to pastor a church. He started Midwestern Baptist College, and when I was there were like 500 students there. I think there's only like 80 or 100 now, but one of the books we had to study from was a great big huge book I've still got in the library called Explore the Book by J. Sidlow Baxter. Excellent book in many, many ways. But Sidlow Baxter also teaches the gap theory. And so that's what I was taught going through Bible college.
Except it wasn't, though, Kent, because we all know that Pastor Malone wasn't actually a gap theorist. He was a young earth.
Uh-oh.
And
so I basically ignored the creation-evolution issue.
What are you talking about, Kent? Look, we're not going to get all into it. The fact that Kent Hovind is himself basically a Malone clone, rhyming.
I like how he calls it an issue. It's not even a thing, man.
Yeah.
You just turn it into a thing.
Right.
Because I didn't have an answer.
That's like saying the Big Bang versus evolution. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. They're not the same thing.
They don't
Also,
address the same thing. They didn't occur at the same time.
It's
None
$21 away from making me get another updated version of Dapper with Feathers.
What about how much more for another tutu?
We're only 21 from a tutu. We're already at making me do an updated feather. I reversed them again.
Oh, you
I'm
keep
dumb.
switching it.
I know.
Don't do that. Let Kent be dumb.
I blame the beer.
$21. I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen.
And we might have to put the tutu away again.
We only have 42 minutes left.
Sidlow Baxter says in his book on page 35, between the first two verses of Genesis, there is ample scope for all the geologic eras. He says there was a pre-Adamite rebellion and the judgment of Lucifer and associated angel beings took place.
So here's one thing that actually, like, if you're going to take the Bible very literally, is an advantage of this, right? Oh, snap. Erechamian with the $20.99 super chat. There it is. Bent, you're breaking out that tutu again.
Oh, yeah.
That actually might be next week, because Erica is super busy. And so, like, when the next Erica with Erica is sort of up in the air.
Okay, Kent with Bet 94.
Yeah, Kent with Bet 94 is going to be another tutu episode.
Another tutu title, maybe. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
All right, guys. Anyway, where were we? Oh, right. So the advantage of this, right, is it gives a time frame for the interpretation of the revelation of John of Patmos, where he talks about like the stars being a third of the stars being swept out of heaven, and then the interpretation of that is that's a third of the angels falling. Like, it gives a time for all of that to actually happen. Because if you just read Genesis in the way that Kent does, it seems like there's essentially no time gap between an alleged fall of Satan and the demons and his angels who become demons, I guess, and the creation, right? Like, they must happen very soon, one after the other, because the Bible doesn't give you this impression that between the creation of Adam and the fall, there's a big time gap. Now, Kent actually does think that there could be hundreds of years. I don't really know how he gets that, and he never really seems to tie it back into his 6,000-year chronology, but whatever. That's one of the advantages of that if you're going to be sort of a biblical literalist. And plus, it doesn't say in Genesis, at the end of like Genesis 1:1 going into Genesis 1:2, and then right away, God. In fact, actually, I'll just grab the text. Give me a second. Yeah, we'll take a look. Because one thing I want to check for, because I don't have all of it memorized, is like, is it actually listed as consecutive events? Because there's an easy way that Hebrew does consecutive events. It's called the vav consecutive. Happens a lot in the Old Testament where you get, a lot of times it's translated in Hebrew, and then. And that's usually with a vav. Well, actually, yeah, check. Yeah, actually, I would say that. So the first word in verse 2 is v'haaretz, which is and the earth. So I would say that I don't actually think the gap theory works well with the Hebrew text. Now, I'm not a Hebraist scholar, so like, what do I know? And Vandali 1998 says, I'd say the tutu for episode 100. Well, here's the thing, right? If people donate enough on episode 99, then the tutu is safe for 100. But he also sends a mavra, so we're going to take a drink. So I did not know previously until just now that Genesis 1:2 started with vav, a vav and, which I would probably interpret as a vav consecutive. So I actually do think that because it does that, it does imply that Genesis 1:2 follows directly onto Genesis 1:1, and I do think that's actually a good argument if you're being literalist against the gap theory. So, hey, look, I just changed my mind about the Bible just now.
What?
Yeah, because I went and checked, right?
That must mean you're a scoffer now.
Oh, now I'm a scoffer.
Or wait, you were a scoffer before.
Except I'm actually now closer to Kent's position, which is if you're a literalist, then the gap theory doesn't make sense. So now I'm less scoffy.
Scoffy. Scoffy.
Well, now wait just a minute.
Yeah, well, okay, so Benny Karen says, it says Vaharetz, which means and the land, but then it's about to tell us about the land, so I don't know, maybe it's not Vav consecutive. Alright, I mean, look, you're welcome to change my mind about that. Would the Vav consecutive need to then follow on with the verb? Because look, like I said, I'm not exactly a Hebraic scholar. But David DB22585, who's been a member for 3 months at the annual level, says, "Arg, I've gone and missed it. Petach." That's okay, man. It'll be here. It'll be archived. Look, I'm very much happy to have my mind changed about this. My Hebrew is, it's very insufficient to really do an in-depth analysis there. But,
not compared to Kent's.
Okay.
Well, in general.
Well, so, I mean, unless I was given a reason as to why that vav there doesn't imply a consecutive, like vav consecutive has to be on the verb or something, because I mean, I don't know. My initial interpretation would be that it is a consecutive use of the conjunction and, which actually also occurs in, like, Arabic. So, to be fair, a lot of my intuition about Hebrew ends up coming from my more knowledge of Arabic, so... Oh no, you're agreeing with you. It is consecutive. Gap is not supported by the text, says Benny Karen. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood your...
Roasted.
Yeah, so I was correct in saying that is a consecutive vav construction there. Good. My Hebrew hasn't failed me this time. Anyway.
Minute.
The bugs in my background are becoming quite calming. Sorry. You're welcome? I don't know. Look, this time of year, the crickets are absurdly loud, and I don't know why, and I have some noise canceling, and I don't know.
Was anybody here before Adam? And when did Lucifer get judged? See, the gap theory people teach, verse 1 says God created the earth, and then right after that there was a catastrophe when Satan fell from heaven and destroyed the earth, and God had to fix it back for 6 days. So the story is, they call it the ruin restoration. It got ruined when Satan fell from heaven, and it got restored over the next 6 days.
Many Karen says, also there is no gap according to Judaism, is there? So I am not going to speak on that because I actually have never looked into the range of interpretations of the creation story in Judaism. I've looked into how Christians have interpreted it. I also looked into various Islamic ideas about creation, but I have not as sufficiently looked into Hebrew ideas beyond that, takedown of Yosef Mizrahi. I mean, that was really bad, but he definitely does not represent Judaism as a whole. So I don't actually know. I would be interested to, like, if you have sources on various takes on Genesis 1:1, throughout like the history of Judaism, I would be interested to look at them. But I don't currently know enough that I would be able to say with any degree of confidence what has historically been believed by Jews about Genesis 1:1.
This is millions of years later maybe, and they say all these fossils we find in the earth are from this Lucifer's flood that took place right here between verse 1 and verse 2.
Yes, fossils are from the devil, we get it.
Well, at least in this case, it wasn't the devil lying to you to test your faith, but they are still kind of from the devil, yeah. But they're also real, at least. Let's see. So Many Karen says, in the Kabbalah there is the idea that there were previous worlds, but I'd never heard of a gap. I have heard of that idea from the Kabbalah that there may have been previous worlds, but I'm also not super up on my Kabbalistic literature. Most of my knowledge of what happens in Kabbalistic literature comes from the channel Esoterica. So if he hasn't said it, I probably haven't heard it. By the way, it's a really good channel. It's much bigger than mine, so it's not like my shout out here is going to help. But if you want to take a look at like the archaeology and history of magical texts and Esoterica, check that out.
That's why most of the people who believe in a old earth do not believe in a worldwide flood in the days of Noah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that's why, so that's dumb, so we're going to take a drink for that. But it is also true that most people who believe in an old earth don't believe in a worldwide flood of Noah, so I'll take a drink for that too.
Good job, Kent. You got something right accidentally.
Right. For the wrong reasons, but you still got it right. You know what? David DB's super chat, or not super chat, but membership, and like milestone chat has made me think maybe I should replace one of my less used emojis with like a damn it kind of Klingon word, like hui chat, because petak means like jerk or idiot or something, not like darn it. So like if you're a channel member and you would like a hui chat, just means like darn it or damn it, you know. I'd be willing to do a hui chat.
Either it's a local flood or it's a tranquil flood. In other words, the water came up, killed everybody, went down, didn't leave a trace. No evidence from this flood.
So Pseudo-Dialect says, pay me ignorant, but didn't Lucifer fall way later on in the book of Luke? So the bit of the Bible that is interpreted as Lucifer's fall is in Revelation. But the thing is that the timeline of Revelation is sort of up in the air, because this is all just an apocalyptic vision that James of Patmos, who may or may not be the same James as the one James, has. And the thing about apocalyptic literature is that it really is not supposed to be taken very literally in the ancient world. Apocalyptic literature, which was a popular genre at the time, people were interpreting it as like, obscure signs and visions and all this, like, oh, what this, maybe this thing is actually symbolizing this and whatever. Yeah, it does come much later in the Bible, and only if you're reading the Christian Bible. Right? Like, that isn't in the Jewish Bible at all. Really, Satan only occurs, I think, other than Job. Satan doesn't really pop up in the Tanakh. Even in Job, he's sort of like, he's less of the force of evil and more like the guy who plays devil's advocate for God, who's like, oh God, you think this, but what about this? Have you considered this? So yeah, trying to get a hold on the development of Satan as a character in like Christian thought is tricky, and does not seem to have the same kind of aspect that he does now in modern, like popular Christian thought, that as he would have if you were say like a 3rd century Christian. Here we go.
The tranquil flood theory and the local flood theory are two things that are usually taught by people who believe the earth is billions of years old. So, James Hutton, back in 17 1875, wrote a book
Oh, by the way, the Tutu has been achieved. I don't know if I said.
Yes. I think so.
called The Theory of the Earth. In that book, James Hutton said the Earth is millions of years old. Wow, that's kind of a new thought for the Western mind.
Oh, Benny Karen says there are a few mentions as either an obstacle or an enemy, 5 or so, not just in Job. All right, well there you go. Yeah. So Satan is not like the progenitor of evil. Yeah. Basically, the concept of Satan in Christian thought has a long and complicated history.
The Earth is millions of years old. That kind of, it is. Then people began teaching this pretty strongly in the late 1700s. They said, oh, the Earth is millions of years old. Wow. And so it really...
People started teaching this heavily after it had been shown to be unassailably correct scientifically. By unassailably, I mean no one had successfully assailed the idea. Weird how after it's been pretty conclusively demonstrated, people started taking it seriously.
Thought.
It took the Christians by surprise. They didn't know how to handle this.
No, most of them were just like, oh, okay. There you go. Because most of them... Because here's
they
the thing,
didn't know how
right?
to handle that.
Like, sometimes I hear current young earth creationists talk about, like, ancient Christians, well, not ancient, early Christians, will say, who they then say were young earth creationists because they believe that the earth had been created a few thousand years ago. The thing is, that was basically everyone at the time. That wasn't, and also the idea of, like, you know, like, the great age of the earth in terms of millions of years hadn't even been floated as an idea in, like Western Asia and stuff, the places where Christians were doing most of their thinking and writing and whatnot, right? So I've heard people cite Augustine of Hippo as someone who was a young earth creationist because he thought the age of the earth was, you know, at the time, like 4,500 years or so, which corresponds to roughly the 6,000 years that we have now from young earth creationists. The thing is, he was also the guy who was like, hey man, stop basing your ideas about the natural world on literal interpretations of the Bible, because the Bible, you don't want Christians to look bad in the eyes of non-Christians by saying things that are obviously proven true by just their observations of the world, and then referencing it to, well, the Bible says.
Yeah.
I'm very confident that if we could go back in time and present Augustine of Hippo with the current evidence, the age of the earth, that Augustine of Hippo would be an old earth. My goodness, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 more.
I'm sending you this Pink Tutu once we're done with it. Because you paid for it.
All right. So let's see. Joel Duff is now a member. That's true. Dr. Joel Duff. Jérôme Allard de Jacquin is a member now. Less Than Lucid, William Robinson are the new members.
And Bob Knob.
Oh, and Bob Knob. Wait. Oh, there it is. Yeah, because he's already blue, so I was confused. I was only looking at the green names. And Bob Knob. Well, thank you very much.
Bob Knob is a moderator, too.
Yeah, that's why, yeah, the blue is what confused. We'll take a few drinks, and by a few I mean 5. All right. Whew. I'm not going to have any beer left for the spooky movies.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, that's true. I probably will, but not much. Not as much as I'm used to.
Not much. No.
All right, here we go.
And so they said, well, how do we make the Bible say that? So to give you the historical perspective of this gap theory, James Hutton's book comes out, 1795, and says the earth is millions of years old. Many people believed it. I mean, like, most Christians believed it too. After all, science was teaching it, so it must be true. So about 20 years later, Thomas Chalmers, a Scottish theologian and Masonic Lodge member, maybe there's a connection there.
I have no idea if he was a Masonic Lodge member, but here's the thing, right?
Maybe there's a connection, Kent. Maybe.
So here's something I want to talk about with the Masons, right? The idea of a Masonic Lodge is an interesting one, because what is a Mason? Someone who lays down stone or brick, right?
How dare they?
Well, so what? Now nowadays, Masons, Freemasonry, they're not a bunch of people who are just bricklayers by definition. So where do they get this idea of Masonry? Well, historically, it was just made up in like the early modern period. But when they were making it up, they were tying it back to the brick masons who built Solomon's temple. They were connecting themselves explicitly to the people who built the temple of God in the Bible. And while, yes, if you take a look at their theology, it was not traditional Christian theology from, that period, but it was still very much not like atheist or worshiping Satan. They were theists who got their ideas about God from the Bible, primarily the Old Testament. So I don't see any particularly good reason why the Masons should be very, very dedicated to making sure that no one believes in God. Because if you take seriously the Freemasonic theology, which, to be fair, most Masons don't, because most Masons, basically, it's just a social club with some charitable things on the side, right? It's a place to go drink and, have the occasional meal with buddies, and then sometimes you give money to various charities. That's it.
Sounds satanic, doesn't it?
Right. But if you were to take the theology seriously, which I'm sure some people have in the past, maybe some do now, it doesn't lead to you to like, oh, the God isn't real and atheism. Also, somehow, despite atheism, also worship Satan. It just doesn't.
Thomas Chalmers comes along and invents a brand new theory called the go. So about 20 years later, Thomas Chalmers, a Scottish theologian and Masonic Lodge member. Maybe there's a connection there.
Well,
Thomas Chalmers comes along and invents a brand new theory called the gap theory.
There it is.
My father was a pastor, a young earth creationist pastor, and rented a church from the Masons. And so I got to hear all about how satanic they were, but not too bad to rent a church from them. So, like,
that is an odd combination of things.
It wasn't quite like that, but it was like they don't believe the same way we do. So,
well, that would be true. Like Masonic theology, if you take it seriously, it's not compatible with like evangelical Protestantism, but it's also not like Satan.
And then they sold the church to a different group of people who wanted it, and then we got a new building. End of story. It's so interesting. I know.
Wow, that was the best story I've ever heard.
It's a lot more interesting than Dead Air. I'll tell you that right now.
That's true. It is a lot better than Dead Air. But you know what? Are we really in danger of Dead Air? Because
always in danger of Dead Air.
That's true. To some extent, yeah, we are always in danger of Dead Air. But I mean, I can come up with stuff to say about just about anything. Like right now, I'm actually bringing the video back.
Word search real quick in a Bible program, and let's see.
Oh my goodness, we just missed most of it. That's okay. We'll fast forward after I share. You.
Yeah, you need to
be back.
Figure out how to get that back.
Fast forward a little bit. Pre-Adamite, we saw that slide. And the earth was without form and void. We see that one? Go back a little bit.
We were at about -17, I think, on the timestamp.
Okay.
It was hard to see because it's blurry.
Yeah.
The house. So they drive up with the truck and they dump off a load of lumber.
So
the truck drives off, you walk up and you say, hey, what happened to your house?
That doesn't sound familiar to me. Did you hear that?
Oh, sorry, I was reading the chat and I got distracted.
It's going to be before 17.
Yeah, a little.
See how this is.
This is going to be proven wrong eventually if there's a conflict, I can assure you. The gap theory says,
no, this is good enough.
Verse 2 starts off with a destroyed earth and God's going to fix it. And the earth was without form and void. And the gap theory folks will point out,
what does that even mean, Kent?
Was here, the earth was.
What does that mean, Kent? What does it mean to be without form and void?
Yeah, I don't think he has a good answer to that.
Could it just be like, I don't know, a big cloud of gas before the sun formed?
I mean, that
before a
makes sense.
Supernova triggered the star's formation and then the planets. Could it be that? Nah.
By the way, have you heard of the gap theory? Yes, 62, no 37. That's actually a pretty close split. So, all right, a good portion have not. And look, it's not very popular nowadays, so I get it if you haven't heard of it.
I am being Connected from the Kent stream, and I don't know why.
Oh, is there? I'm not seeing any dropped frames or that I've.
I'm just gonna manually disconnect. Okay, I'm back in.
There you
It
go.
was trying to disconnect me for some reason.
Was without form is the Hebrew word hava, and it's used to.
I thought it was
Is
tovu vav. Now I'm gonna have to bring up my. Kat, stop trying to talk about Hebrew. You don't know any Hebrew, and you're making me look it
no,
up.
I'm just. He's trying to answer my question. I didn't know he could hear me.
Oh, well, I mean that is fair.
Well, I have more questions like, how dare you? And what gives you the right? And who do you think you are?
Oh my goodness! All right, here we
I
go.
only have those 3 questions.
I skip over. Going too fast.
Yes.
You know. Yeah, you know what? Whatever.
In the same thing, and Lot's wife. Lot's wife turned around and she hava a pillar of salt.
All right, Karen says, I think he's referring to the word. What does that word mean, Karen? Let me know.
Became a pillar of salt. And here they say it's the word was, and they say, you'll see a footnote that says this would be better translated, became. The earth became without form and void. Anytime somebody says, well, the King James translators should have translated it this way, they've had 1 year or 2 years of Hebrew in college, and these guys had a total accumulation of probably 200 years of Hebrew.
Okay, well, what about the translators of newer versions who often have a larger cumulative time of Hebrew experience?
They don't count.
Right, those don't count. Right.
That doesn't count. Listen, like someone in the chat mentioned before, I'm sorry, I can't remember who.
Oh, okay, he's referring to
the
Haita,
King James. If it was good
Hava.
enough for Jesus, it's good enough for us, right?
All right, yeah. All right, well, thank
That's
you,
what my dad
Karen.
used to say to people, though, when they were KJV only. Yeah, if it was good enough for St. Paul, it's good enough for us, right?
And yeah, sure.
He was trolling them,
Yeah,
and they didn't notice.
Because they're dumb.
Because they're dumb, because KJV only is dumb. And so if you believe it, you're probably dumb. Stop being dumb. Don't be dumbass.
Yeah. And as Guptu3 says with his all caps, as opposed to all your experience with Hebrew, Kent, yeah. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel says, KJV get title.
And that's the third, at least, time I've seen that mentioned.
KJV get title. In case you guys don't know,
stream.
Kent, at least once in his
it was like 7 or 8 times.
Okay, as a citation, he would quote from the Bible, and then he would just say, "Get KJV, get book title." Oh, okay.
Or get title.
Or get title. Yeah.
Sometimes get book title. Sometimes get title. Depended on. Who knows what it depends on.
Knew the Hebrew extremely well. Okay, but they want to correct these guys who didn't know. They deliberately chose the word was instead of the word became. The earth simply was without form and void. It didn't become without form and void. That's the way it was. Example here.
I actually do agree with Kent on this. I do think that the Vav consecutive indicates that probably was a better translation.
I don't think it matters at all.
Well, I also agree that it doesn't matter, but I still agree. I don't know about it all.
See.
Because like if you're like, I want the most accurate English translation, I do think was is probably a better. Well, I'm going to drink for I think Kent got something right.
Somebody's going to build a house. So they drive up with the truck and they dump off a load of lumber. The truck drives off, you walk up.
Okay, so Paleologo says, I guess we should all just read the Bible in the original language. Time to learn Hebrew and Greek? Yes.
We should. And not just Hebrew and Greek, but Hebrew and Greek as those languages existed when those parts of the Bible were written.
But also, small snippets of the Old Testament are in Aramaic, so you're going to want to learn Aramaic.
Yeah, and basically all the New Testament dialogue from Jesus and his disciples and all that were allegedly in Aramaic.
Yeah, but or
so I was taught.
They probably were in Aramaic, but they're also recorded in Greek. Although I've also heard people like, Jesus didn't speak Greek. I disagree. Most people in that time and place knew at least a bit of Greek.
Jesus also spoke in some Latin, if I recall correctly.
He probably knew a phrase or two, at least in Latin, yeah. There were a lot of Romans who spoke Latin who were in places of authority. So would help.
And you say, hey, what happened to your house? I'm not done yet. There's no form. I don't see a house here. I see a pile of lumber. That's correct. I'm not done yet. It doesn't mean destroyed. So God simply wasn't done.
I actually do agree that it also doesn't mean destroyed, although I don't think it precludes destroyed. I think it doesn't require it either. So I think Kent is basically right. So I'll just take a drink, because you know what? Why not take the 51st drink?
Hebrew words tohu wa bohu mean unformed and unfilled.
And we can tell that he did not get this pronunciation from someone who speaks or who learned most of the pronunciations of Hebrew common in current rabbinical Judaism. Because,
Shocking, I know.
well, it's actually, so here's the thing, right? The waw pronunciation of the letter vav is the reconstructed version of what that letter probably represented when the biblical texts were being written. It probably was a w sound, but it very quickly became a v sound in basically all of rabbinical Judaism. So you can kind of tell where someone learned their Hebrew, and of course Kent isn't the one who's originating this, right? Someone else is. You can kind of tell where people learn their Hebrew based on whether or not they do certain things, like how they pronounce the letter ayin, how they pronounce vav, things like that. And so Christians are far more likely to learn the reconstructed pronunciation if they bother to learn Hebrew at all, which includes saying things like pronouncing vav as wow and pronouncing ayin as ayin with the sound. You also get in Arabic, which is actually the sound that same letter still makes in Arabic. So it's just one of those interesting things. You can do the same thing with Greek, right? Like Protestants tend to use this artificial Greek pronunciation that uses modern Greek consonants, but ancient, well, a simplified version of ancient Greek vowels that makes it easier to listen to someone using it and know exactly how to spell the word. But it actually doesn't correspond to any actual stage of the Greek language. So if someone is a Protestant who learned Greek, you can tell just by listening to their Koine Greek. And Vandali 1998 for $5 says, not just Greek or Hebrew, but them from the time period since, after 2,000 years, even after they aren't the same. Yeah, you should learn all stages of Hebrew and Greek. All of them.
And know when to use which one?
Yes. You should become an expert.
You know, it's just easier to just do the King James. That's easier.
Actually, that would be easier.
What could go wrong?
Now, I'm one of those guys who slowly has come around to believe you don't need the Hebrew to explain the English, okay?
Yeah, you don't need anything close to the original to explain the English. Yeah, that's.
I mean, where
that's
did that English come from? Let's not worry about that.
Who cares? I'm taking a drink for that because that is beyond.
Because it's really, 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 really stupid.
Yeah. Because even the translators of the King James were looking at the Masoretic text. Now you can say, oh, but I prefer the Septuagint, or I would prefer to compare Masoretic text with Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint and the Peshitta and the Samaritan Pentateuch where applicable. Great. But either way, you're going back to something that isn't English.
You can read the English just fine and understand. I'm not against going to the Hebrew. I'm not against...
And I'm not saying that you can't read the English and understand. I'm just saying that when you complain about differences in the King James Version and other versions, that often those differences actually go back to the Hebrew. And that the reason is because the King James Version is a worse translation.
Oops.
Concordances, but I'd be real cautious when somebody tries to correct the word that God promised He would preserve, okay?
I'm pretty sure there's like 1 trillion Bibles out there, man. I feel like it's quite preserved.
And also, how does he know that it wasn't preserved in the manuscript of the Masoretic text, which is the sort of standard Hebrew version?
He doesn't know anything, that's how.
I'll bet Kent doesn't even know what the Masoretic text is.
Has he heard of it? He's probably heard of it.
I'm sure
Said
he's heard
naive
the words.
bent.
I think he's heard the words. I don't know if he knows it. Like if you said Masoretic text, I don't know if that would do anything to his brain to light up any memories.
Does he have a... Yeah, he probably has a brain.
I mean, he breathes. He's got at least a brain stem.
He has a brain stem, then, yeah.
It does not necessarily mean
And he
destroyed,
memorizes
though
trivia,
it can
so, yeah.
mean
You have to have a
destroyed.
brain to be able to
Oh,
memorize.
actually,
But it doesn't.
I agree with him about this. It can't, destroyed could be an option, and it doesn't have to mean that. So we'll take a drink for him being ready.
Necessarily. Tohu is used 20 times in the Old Testament with
Great.
10 different meanings.
Okay.
Ye seek me in vain. Isaiah 45. That's the word tohu. He stretcheth the earth over the empty place, over the tohu, Job 26. It just simply
So
means
what
empty.
I feel like Kent okay. It seems like he's saying that it could mean anything you want then. If it's used 20 times in 10 different ways, what does that even mean?
I don't know if he would say anyway, but I think he's just saying it doesn't have one singular meaning. It doesn't have to always mean destroyed, which...
It could mean anything. It could mean anything.
Well, I think also with that, we're going to start wrapping it up. We'll go into Tohu Vabohu at another time with the next Kent with Bent, in which case we might... I'm going to have to get like the next video ready, because you never know. We can get through a lot of it next. But guys...
12 minutes left, something like that?
15, 51, so 16 minutes. We got through, I think, 11 minutes today. So, you know.
That much, huh?
Yeah, about 11 minutes in about 2 hours. That's actually pretty good for us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little disappointed there was basically no science. However, it is always interesting to hear how badly Kent can get the Bible, despite the fact that it seems to be his favorite book, right? Like, man, if you're going to be part of the Bible fandom, get the lore right.
Right.
He said in a very...
Do better.
Oh, I just got my... Try to not...
Do better, Kent. Be better.
Right. All right, guys. Thank you very much. First, Bent, do you have anything coming up that you want to tell people about?
No.
Fair
I
enough.
think I'm still recording and mixing music, but who knows how long that's going to take. It's going to take forever. It always takes forever.
Yeah, it might. All right, guys. I am pretty close to the next, being ready to release the next Spectral Evolution video. That'll probably be on a Friday, but I'm not sure if it'll be this Friday or next Friday or the next one. But by the 21st, I'm very confident it'll be out. I'm still not promising that. Anyway, on the 6th, watch out for the next Pete Greer Still Gets Everything Wrong video. It'll be about specifically Australopithecus afarensis, and even more specifically, Lucy, because Pete Greer... No, not Pete Greer, I'm sorry. Carl Kirby, that's it. Carl Kirby. I mixed those two up because they're both pastors who get everything wrong. Carl Kirby gets nothing right about Lucy. And he also mixes up the entire genus of Australopithecus with the one individual Lucy. Because of course he does. They all do. Well, not all, right? But it's very common. Then on Saturday, the 8th, I don't know. Probably going to be something happening. On the 11th, there's a fair chance that we're going to be doing Kent with Bent 94 with a Tutu, but if we don't, it'll be Eric with Erica, because I'm going to ask Erica. Like I said, she is absurdly busy lately, so I'm not counting on it.
And I am absurdly not busy, so...
Well, there you go.
There you go.
On Thursday, the 13th, we are going to have the supercut of my Stephen Meyer series. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that, of just nonstop debunking of a one Meyer speech. So if you like the Stephen Meyer series, or you just like my long-form content that like lets you auto-binge an entire series, check that out. Because in case you guys haven't caught on, when I put the movie, it's basically an entire previous series I did that you can just now watch with one click.
Isn't that nice? It's really nice.
It's a very magnanimous thing of me to do. And it totally isn't because those tend to get the most views of any of my content. By like an order of magnitude in some cases.
Well, listen, the movies are really good.
I mean, I really like them.
It puts all of it together, and yeah, it's very good stuff. And it's feature length, so...
All right. With that, we're gonna start getting out of here. Manny Karen for 15 shekels says, Yom Kippur, Fatima Tovo to all. Also, I hope if you were observing, I hope you have an easy fast and that your name is inscribed in the Book of Life. If you're not observing, then I hope that you have an amazing Wednesday.
I'm gonna... Well, it's Tuesday, but...
Well, most of Yom Kippur
it goes into Wednesday.
It's gonna go through Wednesday.
I don't observe it, so I'm gonna eat a lot of good food. Well, I'm gonna eat a lot of food. I don't know if it'll be good, but...
Well, chances are I'm gonna make at least some of it, and I'll probably make some...
You make good food, yeah.
Alright, guys. See you on Thursday. Thanks for watching, but before you go, I just want to say a special thank you to my channel members and my patrons, especially those pledging $20 or above. Bob Knob, Work in Progress, Bent Hovend, Denny5252, Ian Chen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, McSpooks, Sphincter of Doom, The Venerable Bede, and Patrick Dennis. As you probably know, YouTube is a very volatile platform, and from month to month my income on the channel can swing wildly. The people you see on screen are directly supporting so that I don't have to worry too much about that, and the channel can keep going as it is, and perhaps even improving. If you'd like to join this team, there are links below to join the channel or in the description to join the Patreon. The Patreon starts as low as $1 a month, and the channel memberships start as low as $1.99 a month. On Patreon, you can even get a discount for pledging annually. If you do decide to pledge, you'll get access to an exclusive Discord server just for channel supporters, as well as early access to all of my pre-recorded videos, often up to 2 months in advance. Higher tiers will unlock even better perks. Now, if the annual or monthly pledge isn't right for you, but you still want to support the channel, there is a merch store down in the description, as well as an Amazon wishlist, just for me. And if financial support isn't something you can or want to do, then if you still want to help out the channel, please just like and share these videos and make sure you comment on them. It really helps the channel out. Thanks again for watching.